So a few words about Pathmonk. Pathmonk is the intelligent tool for website lead generation. With increasing online competition, over 98% of website visitors don't convert. The ability to successfully showcase your value proposition and support visitors in their buying journey separates you from the competition online. Pathmonk qualifies and converts leads on your website by figuring out where they are in the buying journey and influencing them in key decision moments with relevant micro experiences like case studies, intro videos, and more. Stay relevant to your visitors and increase conversions by plus 50%. Add Pathmonk to your website in seconds, let AI do all the work, and get access to plus 50% qualified leads while you keep on doing marketing and sales as usual. Check us out on pathmonk.com. Hello and welcome to Pathmonk Presents. I'm your host Razmik Sargsyan, and I'm excited to be featuring Kala Halbert on the show today. Kala is the Director of Marketing at Prophia, and Prophia is essentially offering a software that organizes commercial real estate data through AI-powered lease abstraction. This is quite an interesting field for me because I know that this is an area that's not regulated, so a lot of data is just proprietary. You find the same real estate being advertised in different platforms. So this is going to be an interesting conversation, Kala. Thank you so much for making time for this and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Tell us a little bit about Prophia. What would you say is your core mission?
Yeah, so really our mission is to replace kind of the outdated and labor-intensive methods of data management in commercial real estate. And we're doing that, as you mentioned, with a powerful and proprietary AI solution. And more to your point of kind of what really sets us apart in our journey is the exclusive access we have to vast amounts of private data that no one else can really replicate. Even with the most sophisticated algorithms, you can't compete if you lack access to that core data. So that gives us kind of a unique advantage in the market. But more than anything, we're seeking to kind of transform how raw lease and tenant data is accessed and turn those into actionable insights, and in general, just kind of help CRE professionals make strategic and data-informed decisions.
Interesting. You mentioned CRE professionals, but let me ask you this. Who do you serve primarily? Are there any champions in that group or anyone that you'd like to mention specifically?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we serve kind of a diverse range of companies in the commercial real estate sector, from either your smaller kind of metro-centric investor all the way up to some of the largest investors and owners in the world with tens of millions of square feet of commercial real estate. Right now, our solution only supports the English language, so most of our customers are located in North America. But we also have some clients peppered in other countries. But in general, it's the owners of commercial real estate, and right now we are focused on office, retail, and industrial portfolios.
Interesting. I was going to ask you what are the problems you solve for your customers, although you kind of answered this, so I'll ask you this way. What do you think people are missing out if they're not using your products?
Sure. I mean, I think obviously wasted time, and that's where efficiency comes into play. But outside of that, on a more strategic level, I think in this kind of uncertain commercial real estate phase that we all find ourselves in, being able to get really smart about the assets that you currently have under management, and sort of decoupling portfolio growth with headcount growth. And that's just kind of one example of how to kind of stay lean in this kind of economic climate. And also, even if you maintain the same team that you have today, just making sure that everybody is working on high value tasks, right? instead of sifting through mountains of lease data and, having to work across highly matrix teams, either in geography or focus. If people are working on different data sets or different information, it just makes everyone's jobs harder. So we're trying to make the industry more efficient, so they can be more effective with their investments.
That sounds very impressive. Let's shift the conversation to communications and marketing a little bit. And the first question that comes up for me is real estate, as far as I understand, is one of the biggest markets in the world. And I don't know in what markets you worked before, but I'm curious, what have you observed as a strategic communicator working with this field specifically that you believe probably marketers in other fields don't really appreciate?
Sure. So I was actually brought on to Prophia, having only had experience really in the real estate and more specifically commercial real estate sector. And so they wanted to bring someone in that had the same lens and was viewing the world the same way their customer does. And that is it's a very traditional sector, right? They place a premium on personal connections and industry knowledge. So as a result, we often connect with our audience more effectively than others in other channels. And of course, we're in a lot of different channels, but for us, the highest value are the in-person events. They're the market visits, the industry conferences, live webinars. So these face-to-face interactions really provide a invaluable opportunity for us to showcase our platform. Whereas maybe in other industries, you don't have to rely so heavily on that. In other industries, maybe your website is your greatest asset. But for us in commercial real estate, where people still want to meet in person, shake hands, know where you're from and what part of town you live in and why you love that city or that asset or whatever it is, we have to have those in-person connections. And that's where really our marketing funnel begins.
That's very interesting. I think that speaks to the heart of what public relations, generally speaking, are, which is actually creating good, meaningful relationships with multiple audiences. So that personal touch is very interesting. So in that case, what would you say is the role of your website in your customer acquisition process?
Sure. So everything that I just mentioned, kind of creates the buzz, creates the funnel that we need to support the digital funnel. So when we're out in the market, we're getting those content ideas, we're promoting word of mouth, which ultimately generally comes back through branded search. And so our website really is acting as that central hub, where we showcase the full spectrum of Prophia's platform, and also kind of serves to simplify the complex, because our offering is fairly complex. And so the website specifically, just over a year ago, we embarked on a total overhaul of our website that completely turned our lead generation around. We went from not having, I think, a single lead come through our website, I'm pretty sure ever. Granted, we didn't release our product until 2022, to a website that now successfully has converted hundreds of leads. So this evolution for us as a startup has been monumental, right? So, the website is not only introducing potential clients to our offering, but it also allows them to explore on their own, because everybody, even in a traditional industry, everyone likes to take a little bit of a different path. Some people want to talk about Prophia on the phone over a webinar. Some people want to do their own research on the website. So we're continuously adapting and are actually likely going to be undertaking a another revamp in the next several months here for our website.
Interesting. What would you say is a unique advantage that your website has versus maybe an area that you know needs more improvement, or you're curious to work more in that direction?
Sure. I think that for us, as important as SEO is, we just try to have common sense, right? Like we try to constantly put ourselves in our customers' shoes. What if they come to our website, how can we tell them exactly what we do without having to scroll or spend 5 minutes? Like we want to solve for why the reason they're visiting, right? So learning more about us, validating us against case studies or testimonials, being transparent about how our pricing is set up, and also providing them with thought leadership pieces and content that can impact their current day-to-day, even without Prophia, being able to provide value on the front end too. So I think we just kind of look at it like we are people, SEO, and if we do the right things, then the SEO will come. And so far that's worked out for us.
That's beautiful. That's a very interesting insight. I got this question earlier today, so I'm just gonna randomly ask you as well. What do you think makes a good marketer?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I mean, I think that someone who's perceptive, right? I mean, you need to be able to kind of take in a lot of information constantly, whether it's from your sales team, your product team, your customers, prospects, things that are changing in the industry. So you kind of have to be like a filter of information, and be able to kind of repackage that and simplify and just understand how it can be translated back to a problem and a solution. So just being able to absorb, I think.
That's a great summary. And what would you say is perhaps most misunderstood about digital marketing as a field, or digital marketers as professionals?
Oh, gosh.
Or not digital marketers, generally speaking.
Yeah. I think that probably the biggest and the worst way to be viewed as a marketing professional is as an expense, right? Mm-hmm. I think every marketing professional wants to be viewed as a revenue generator. And so I try to have that little voice in the back of my mind constantly, and that helps me make decisions, and that helps me prioritize of, okay, is this going to move the needle, especially for where we are as a startup? Is this going to get us more customers? Is this going to help us hire the best talent? Is this going to help us find or attract new investors? Everything for me goes back to growth and providing value for the company instead of dollars out the door.
That's a great comment. And it's so simple and true, but yet so easy to overlook. I think all marketers do it at some point. And we spoke about websites, so website conversions are an example of that. Like if you don't convert, maybe you have other areas on your website that are working just perfectly well. But so maybe a few more questions. What's a book that you've read recently or not recently that has been quite important for you as a marketer in terms of the insights you've got it, or in terms of how it has shaped your outlook?
Yeah. So I recently, and now I need to look up the title in my Audible, Building a Story Brand. That's the name of it. And that is by Donald Miller. And that again really focuses on a very simple kind of theory and concept of, as humans, we all have these desires, and they're kind of driven by these very primal instincts. And so it talks about marketing from that kind of lens where, you know, whatever role you're in, there are certain drivers, whether that's wanting to impress your boss for job stability, which comes back to security and comes back to shelter and like kind of these primitive skills. So yeah, I think that's probably the most recent that I've tuned into. And honestly, it was a great read / listen. I did a little bit of both.
That's very interesting. One of my podcast guests once said that the superstructure of all communication is storytelling. And I thought about it, I was like, well, that makes so much sense. I mean, it's primordial. People telling all the stories thousands of years ago, sitting by fire, some of them true, some of them. And maybe it has shaped all culture. So it makes sense to go to this fundamental superstructure.
And that was their history, right? Before there was written language, it was all oral, it was all storytelling. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to look at it that way.
So if someone forgets everything about our interview today, what is one thing they should remember about your company?
Great question. I would say we are transforming an industry. We are pioneering this, and really there is no other company that is far along in the journey as we are, or has access to the amount of data that we do. And I know that right now there's kind of a buzz around AI, right? And so there's an AI solution for almost everything, it seems. But we came before that wave. We've been working really hard over the last 5 years to really solve specifically for commercial real estate. And we have a lot of great partners and customers and investors that are going to help us along our mission.
Thank you so much, Kala. I've really enjoyed speaking with you. Thanks for making time to be on Pathmonk Presents.
Yes, you too. Thanks so much.
And thank you guys for listening. This is Pathmonk Presents. I'm Razmik Sargsyan, and we'll be back with another episode soon. Goodbye.